Hello, and thanks for joining me for this weekly video. I wanted to talk this week about rest. I recently wrote a blog post which talked about the recent report that came out of the American Psychological Association. It was investigating stress levels a year into the pandemic, and some of the levels they came up with were pretty high. They found out that people are really significantly stressed a year in spite of doing less, we're actually more stressed. Now, at the end of my blog post, which I will put the link in the box below if you want to check that out, I talk about how rest is really revolutionary in our culture. We don't do a lot of it, really. We are such a go, go, go culture. We are always on the move. And it's like we think we're Energizer bunnies or something, which we're not, by the way. So this idea of rest being revolutionary, it really is. Like how many times during the week do you really allow yourself to have quality rest? Now, I was talking to someone this past week who said to me, yeah, like my doctor said I am more stressed than usual because I've been having these health issues and that's what she thinks it is. But I don't know that I'm more stressed than I was. I mean, I'm doing much less than I was a year ago. So how can it be true that I'm more stressed? And so I wanted to make this distinction that, rest doesn't just mean being less physically active or less on the go, physically on the move. It has to do with what we're doing with our minds. So it's you can be lying down on your bed absolutely still and your mind can be racing. And so, we can have stressed out minds in bodies that are not doing much in the way of physical activity. And in some ways that's worse because at least if our bodies are engaged, we're our minds and our bodies are connecting in a way that's allowing us to kind of move some of that stress through our bodies. But this lack of physical activity is actually making sure that this busyness in our minds is staying in our minds and it's staying in our bodies. It's not being moved through our bodies. So that's creating a lot more stress related illnesses, stress related health issues. So the answer then is not that moving our bodies less is going to help us rest. I mean, that's important too. Most of us, I'd say, the most rest that we give ourselves if we do this is we give ourselves a good night's sleep. So we'll allow ourselves a good night's sleep. We'll allow ourselves 7 to 8 hours a night to rest. Okay, but during the rest of the day, we're pretty much on the whole time. And actually, what our minds need is it needs breaks. It needs times where it is not thinking, where it's not analyzing, where it's not problem solving, where it's not stressing, where it's not, thinking about future scenarios and how to prevent them. And it actually needs time to daydream and to just be quiet and just wander aimlessly and to just be. So the quiet mind is something that I don't think many people in the United States, at least, experience very much. Now, there's a reason that meditation has become so popular recently. And there is, scientific research to prove that it has health benefits, very clear health benefits. Now, why is that? Well, because when you're in a state of meditation, your mind is quiet. You're not overthinking. Your mind is not revved up. It's not exhausting itself. It's in a place of restoring. It's in a place of rest. And I can't tell you how important that is. And if people actually knew how important it was, they would be giving themselves that rest more of the time. Now, meditation is one way to do that, but meditation is a practice, that we kind of put into these discrete boxes. Well, I meditate, for 20 minutes every morning, and then I'm done. That's it. Like that was the exercise, that was the practice. But really, a quiet mind can be experienced anytime, any time of the day. And in fact, our mind does have a way of trying to get rest on its own. In other words, there are times when we naturally fall out of being active, and that's what daydreaming is. When you find yourself just looking out the window when you should be working, looking out the window and looking at the clouds. And this is actually a positive thing that your mind is doing, and a necessary thing. It resets at those moments. It gives yourself a moment to disengage from whatever problem you're into, or whatever analytical state of mind you've been engaged in. So daydreaming, or looking out the window, or people watching, or those are some things that we just naturally fall into when our mind is needing some rest. But a lot of times we find ourselves resisting that. I don't know how I've talked to so many people who will say, like, I find myself, in a space of quiet, and I feel like I need to be doing something, so I jump into action, or it's uncomfortable to be in that space. So I start watching YouTube. I, plug myself in, or listen to a podcast, or, something. It's almost like we have a hard time being in stillness, and yet stillness, that's where the richness is. See, the secret is that a quiet mind, stillness, underneath all the chatter, all the noise, all the analysis, all the overthinking, that is actually where health, well-being, solutions, that's where all of that is. It's actually not in the intellect. It's not in the analytical mind. If you actually try to analyze your problems, you'll just go round and round and round in circles. And that's what leads to rumination. That's what leads to anxiety. It doesn't actually work. It's the quieter spaces where the intuition and the wisdom, just the knowing, that's where that is, in the quiet. The thing is, though, we can develop, or not even develop is not even the right word. The quiet mind is there always underneath the chatter. It's just a matter of going there, letting ourselves be there. Really, we fall into that place naturally, but then many of us resist it. We're trained to be productive. We're trained to be doing something or thinking something all the time. But the more you let yourself just be in the quiet space, the more you'll start to notice that you'll start to see solutions. You'll start to get ideas, insights, without trying, because of course that's how insights happen. They don't happen from us trying to have them. They just show up when we least expect them. And you can practice this anytime. And it really is a matter of just letting yourself fall out of your mind for a second, fall out of your intellect, fall out of your analysis, and just relax. Just for a second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, just be, to sense what's happening around you. And some people call this mindfulness, but I don't even necessarily I wouldn't necessarily give it that label, because it's really just discovering presence. It's really just allowing yourself to be for a second without putting anything on it, just letting yourself rest, letting your thoughts go, tuning into your surroundings for just a second, tuning into your senses. And if you do that for just a few seconds, even, it's going to have benefits for your mind. It's going to allow your mind to just restore, just to reset, to bounce back, to let go of some of the stress. And of course, the more you allow yourself the quiet mind, the more restored you will be. I mean, when was the last time that you gave yourself just an hour, even, to not be doing something productive? To just lie on a hammock in the backyard and look up at the sky, or sit in the park and just look around, and really with nothing on your mind. So I would invite you to just play with this, because the more we learn to be present, the better that is for our health, our mental health, and our physical health. So play with it and see how you feel, and see if you notice anything different. All right. Well, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.